joining us now, President of the Santa Clarita chapter of Vietnam Veterans for America, Nick Callas. Nick, we welcome you to America's Forum. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
Well, Nick, when you first heard that Jane Fonda was going to be the commencement speaker, what was your reaction?
Well, you described it exactly accurate. Curious. It's inhumane. There's so much that I could say, and I know you have a limited time, but Hanoi Jane is what suits her. The only positive of the whole thing is the day that she's appearing is Friday the 13th, and that's probably the only good part that could come of that meeting. We all have different opinions about it, but not in this case. 99, if not 100% of Vietnam veterans hate this woman, and because of her actions and because of her support for at that time, the enemy, not the Americans, and the treasonous way that she handed back to the commanders of the North Vietnamese notes that were slipped to her as she was paraded in front of prisoners that they handed to her, and she stuffed them away, and they were SOSs, they were please call my wife, those kinds of letters, and she collected quite a few. At the end of that meeting, she handed every one of those pieces of paper to the commanders of the North Vietnamese that were in charge of these prisoners of war. They were tortured, some to death, and how are we ever supposed to forgive? How are we ever supposed to forget? We'll never forget, and it's not up to us to forgive. God does that. But as far as to forget, never. She's the wrong person, and it makes me wonder what she's going to tell these graduates at that school at UCLA, because what she did was strictly to draw people to watch her stupid movies. And if she would just look at her father, who was at the height of his career, said, I'm not going to do studio wars. And he joined the Army, and he worked on an aircraft carrier and a destroyer for 3 years with the U.S. Navy. He was awarded the Bronze Star and a presidential citation for doing so. And a lot of Hollywood famous people took the right step. She took the absolute wrong step, and to me it was treason, and she should have been treated as a traitor.
Well, we did see the footage, Nick, of her in some of the historical photos we were showing while you were commenting, those infamous pictures of Ms. Fonda sitting on the anti-aircraft guns in North Vietnam. I want to turn, though, to another point, and that is that through the years, Ms. Fonda has shown some remorse. As a matter of fact, back in 2013, Jane Fonda sat down with Oprah Winfrey and had this to say during an interview. Let's take a listen.
And I will go to my grave with this. And as I walked away, I suddenly thought, oh my gosh, this is going to look like I was shooting. I mean, there were no planes, the gun was not operable, it didn't matter. This is an image that belied everything that I was.
So there is Jane Fonda talking about the pictures taken as she sat on that anti-aircraft gun battery, expressing some remorse. Years pass, people change. Do you accept this pseudo-apology, Nick Callas?
I do not, because two things. One is she's an actress, and that's her profession, that's her chosen trade. I don't believe a word of it. She knew she was 29 or something during the event in Vietnam. She knew what she was doing, and again, I believe it was to attract an audience back home, and because it was not a popular war, and everyone knows that. But because of that, not only did people lose their lives, but look at how we, as we came home, got treated. We were spat at, and we were just, I mean, it was terrible. And, you know, thank God people have wised up, and boys and girls coming home today from Afghanistan, Desert Storm, all these are welcomed home. They're the heroes. So it's okay to hate the war, but not the warrior. I mean, we were dumb kids.
Well,
We
Nick
had no
Callas,
clue.
let me ask you something else from those turbulent times. So many demonstrations on campus by the anti-war left. Do you envision a situation, will your group or other veterans groups show up on the UCLA campus to demonstrate during Jane Fonda's speech on Friday the 13th?
Well, I believe that there will be. I don't know what size. I do know that there will be some, and in the hearts of those few will be the hearts of many, because we want to make a stand, and we don't stand with a traitor.
Nick Callas, the president of the Santa Clarita chapter of Vietnam Veterans of America, we thank you very much for your time. And as we see other institutions of higher learning spurn former government officials for commencement speeches, it is concerning to see Jane Fonda. We all have First Amendment rights, but with those rights come responsibilities. We appreciate your contribution to our nation while wearing the uniform and your willingness to speak out on this issue that troubles you so much. Thank you very much for your time, sir.
You're welcome, sir, and thank you.
So you heard from Nick Callas, his dissatisfaction, to put it mildly, about Jane Fonda speaking at UCLA. Freedom of speech. Is it a one-way street on campuses only for those who embrace the causes of the left? We'd love to have your comments. Why don't you tweet them to us at NewsmaxTV, hashtag America's Forum. There's also email, connect@newsmaxtv.com, and how could we forget Facebook?